it's so much fun. I love that music, and it's just always so much fun. Like, I have so many things going on behind the scenes because I was really trying to get prepared for today. And I'll just be really honest, I'm just trying to show off for today's guest because she has so many fancy things that happen behind the scenes that I just feel so lucky that I get to see. But I'm trying to be like Melanie. She's already behind stage and she can hear everything I'm saying. So she totally gets it. But I want to know where everybody is watching from. Happy Friday. If you are brand new around here, hi, I am Crystal. I teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. But today is not just about podcasting. No. I'm so happy to share the stage with my friend Melanie, who is going to talk all about video, live streaming, and how we can incorporate that into our business, our brand, and all the things. And she doesn't need an intro. You already know who I'm talking about. So I'm going to bring you up on stage. Welcome to the show, Melanie.
What's going on?
Oh my gosh, y'all. Like, she's just a trip. Yes, she is like this, even when we're not doing live video stuff. Hang on. I'm going to take this off of my forehead because that's just going to drive me nuts.
Your overlay?
But, y'all, happy. Yes. Yeah, the overlays. Like, we're going to get into all the technical things, okay? Like, all the things, all the questions. If you have questions about video podcast, if you have a question about live streaming, or you have a question about StreamYard, this is actually the software that I'm using to go live. How Melanie and I are conducting this show here, and I defer to her for all things StreamYard questions. So if you have them, put them in the comments. But welcome to the show, Melanie.
What's going on, Crystal? It's Friday. You know, it's like my favorite day of the week. What about you? You having a good one?
Yes.
Good.
I don't know. I mean, I went on a run this morning. I'm feeling good. Hence the hat. Like, y'all, I was not going to, I mean, I love y'all. But this hair, no, it was going to take a lot longer than like an hour to get this all put together. So that's why I wore my favorite hat, y'all. This is my favorite hat.
I like it.
Love
Okay, so you know how you have that good vibe sweatshirt?
Yes.
I have the exact same sweatshirt, and I almost texted you this morning, and I was like, do you think it would be funny if we wore the same outfit? And then I was like, no, because today we're talking about showcasing your personal brand, and that would be like weird if we were matching. That's not very unique.
Yeah. No, not at all. I'm so glad. But now I'm thinking of photo opportunities that we could potentially. I don't know. You got the gears turning. I'm thinking this sounds like a fun experiment. But that's for another day. That's not what we're here to talk about today. So we are here to talk about video podcasts, and I actually saw several comments come in before, like whenever I announced, I was like, hey, I got a special guest. We're going to talk about video. And so a lot of questions came in, and we're going to get to those in a little bit. But I want to say hey to everybody that's here. So, hey, Miranda. So happy that you're here. Hi, Laura. Lori is watching from Ontario, Canada. I probably said that wrong. Ontario.
Okay,
yeah.
Yes.
See,
I spent some time in Ontario, actually, in the Toronto area. I actually helped Lowe's launch their stores in Canada, and they started out in that area. So, yes. Fun fact, you didn't know that about me. Yeah, back in my corporate days.
You learn something new every day. And it's funny because Lori, she actually has a travel podcast. So
ooh, fun.
I love to hear, we'll have to talk about your time in Canada. I've never been. I've heard it's beautiful.
I've spent I spent a lot of time up there helping get stores open.
That's awesome. I'm like fascinated. I'm like, I did not know this about you. And I always love learning new things. Oh, Lori's in the house.
Lori!
Hey, Lori. So happy
Yay!
that you're here. Okay, so Mel, what are we going to talk about today when it comes to video and podcast? Because you and I know, like, these go together so well. But
like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, like peanut butter and jelly. Oh my gosh.
Like white bread and American cheese for grilled cheese, right?
Yeah. Sure.
I had to pull that one out there for maybe people that don't like peanut butter and jelly, but it's okay. So yeah, so here's the deal. So you and I are very passionate about, sorry, I just saw Miranda's comment. She's like, my kid is screaming. I'm going to have to come back in a bit. Mom life, it's okay. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. It's all good. Yes. Lots of stories. Okay, so here's the deal. So podcasting is definitely an amazing way for you to put yourself out there, share yourself with the world. Video is an incredible way to do that as well. And Crystal and I are very passionate that we believe that live video is probably one of the easiest and best core pieces of content that you can repurpose. Now, if you're already podcasting, right, and you already have a podcast, and you should be using live video or video to repurpose some of that podcast content or drive traffic to your podcast as well. So a lot of times when I talk to people about doing video and podcasts, they're like, oh my gosh, I can barely keep up with my podcast as it is. Now you want me to add something else. And I say, no, actually, because a lot of the work, a lot of the effort of creating podcasts goes into the planning, the content development, the research, and you already have all that. You've done all that work. You record a podcast episode. That exact same topic could be completely repurposed into a video. And so I love the idea of going from podcasting and then using live videos to not only share that same content, but also you can use live video. Let me give you an example. So this is probably my favorite example. Let's say you have a podcast episode and it's 5 tips to, before you travel abroad, right? Here's 5 things you need to make sure you know before you travel abroad. That's your podcast episode. Well, then you could do a live video and you could talk about one of those tips and you can go really deep on it, like deeper than you did on the podcast. And then you can say, hey, there's 4 other tips that I really think I'm passionate about, and you could touch them. And then you say, you can listen to more about those podcasts or those tips over on my podcast. So you're driving traffic over to the podcast. Now, likewise, you can kind of do the same thing both ways around. I just think that they cross promote really well. I also think that, if you're starting with live video and you're thinking about podcasting and you have the same feeling, or let's say you're doing YouTube videos and you're thinking about doing podcasts, it's kind of the same concept. You're doing the planning, you know the content, you know what your audience wants to hear from you. You're doing it on video. Well, you could actually take the audio from that video and put it into a podcast episode. And you could start that episode and say, hey, I went live the other day. We talked about this, or this person asked this great question. I wanted to share the answer with you, my podcast audience. And so you can repurpose that audio, or you could do what I just described and you can do the exact same strategy over on your podcast. You can repurpose it. Now, Crystal has your episode this week on your show was about video podcasts, which let's be clear is a little different than what I'm describing, right? So right. Why don't you tell the audience what exactly that is?
Well, it's funny because, Mel and I are friends, off camera, offline, we're good friends and we talk all the time. And she sent me, we talk on Voxer a lot, and she sent me a message and she was like, your podcast episode about video podcast was so good.
It was so good.
In my mind, I was like, it's because she's biased to video. That's why. It's because she's like, you're talking about video. This one was amazing. That's exactly what I first thought. But, for me, a video podcast, there's a lot that, I could lay it all out on the table, exactly what a video podcast means for me, but it's so different for everybody. And I think that we have so many people in our audience that are like, okay, give me the step-by-step exactly how to do something. And then you're like, but if that doesn't totally, if I don't fit in this box, then I'm awful or I'm terrible or this is not going to work out for me. And so for a video podcast for me, I just simply think of how you're connecting with your audience in a new way, a different way. And it's one of those things that you don't have to do I don't video podcast all the time, y'all. I don't. And I don't preach that you have to every single time you put out an episode. I just think it's another fun way to connect with your audience. Like you were saying, taking a repurposing aspect or actually just delivering live where you're highly engaged with your audience. And then you're like, man, that was so good. I know you've told me several times, you're like, I'm Crystal, I just did this live video and it crushed it. I had great comments. I had just great engagement. And I'm like, I think I want to turn this into a podcast episode. I'm like, that's fantastic. So I think it's going to be different for every person. So anything, that you learn about video, about podcasting, just take it with a grain of salt with how can I make this work for me? And Mel does such a fantastic job in making it easy. Like, oh my gosh, if you look at, what we're doing now, it could like, oh, like they're fancy. They're super complicated. I can't, y'all, if you only knew.
If you can click your mouse, you can do what we're doing right now. That's what I always say. Literally, if you know how to use a mouse and a computer and a web page, then you can do what we're doing right now. It's that simple.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that what I find that whether it be someone who is not necessarily embracing video just yet. So a lot of people, they have a podcast, they feel more comfortable. You even talk about this. You're like, I can like record 5 episodes in my pajamas, and it's like, that's fine. And that's great. And I think that when people start thinking about adding video to their mix, it brings this whole different level of stress in regards to, there's just something else about being on video, right? So, and then even more so live video, because you're live and, oh my gosh, what if I make a mistake? Or, oh, what if I mess up my words? Or, oh, what if the technology gets all weird? So I think a lot of people that are podcasters, I believe in both. I mean, people have asked me this question, and I really have a hard time answering it, because both video and my podcast have totally driven traffic into my world and have brought new people, because people find my podcast organically, but then they also, I think, hear about an episode or they hear me on somebody else's show. And so then they go check out my show. And the reason why I like the mix of both is because not everybody wants to listen to podcasts and not everybody wants to watch videos. And so when you're embracing both, then you're able to cater to these two these two personas that have a different preference. But the other reason why, so I love podcasts, because I actually think that people like soak information in a little better. And maybe it's because the environment that they're in as they're listening, they're more focused on it. They're not distracted because they're not watching something on social media where they're getting notifications. And so it's almost easier to actually focus. However, I love video too, because when it comes to really connecting with your audience, I mean, when you're listening to somebody's voice, it is personal and it is a connection. But when you're watching a video or you're seeing a video, you can look into their eyes, you can see how they act, you can see their office, their environment. You feel a little bit more like you're in there with them, right? And so I think that I like both. And I really, sometimes people say, well, which one's better? And I'm like, I actually think that you should do both of them together. Like, I personally believe if you have a podcast, you should 100% be embracing video, especially live video. Now, if you don't have a podcast yet, and let's say you are just trying to figure out where to start, I mean, I personally think that live video has a really low barrier of entry. I mean, you literally can grab your phone and go live. Now, you and I have also talked about podcasting these days also has a very low barrier of entry, right? And so I think that you just got to decide, where do you think you'll be the most comfortable to get started and to keep going? And that is, I think, key. And then layer in that other platform, whether it be you start with video and then move into podcasting too. But as I said, the reason why I believe so strongly that these things work well together is I think they cross promote well. And I think that your audience gets to decide how they want to consume content from you. But then also, I think that the ability to repurpose all that hard work you're already doing by planning and writing the content and developing the strategy, they go together. I mean, the only type of video that can't be repurposed into a podcast is literally a click-by-click video tutorial. Like, that would be a little weird. But everything else can be supported by a podcast. And so, I think that people get overwhelmed by the thought of being on camera, the technology and everything else. And I always say, live video can be whatever you want it to be for you. I'm using a higher end camera. You're now using a higher end camera. People say, oh my God, but my set would never look like that. All those lights and stuff. It doesn't have to. Like, when I started going live, I was going live with my phone and I was using a little tripod and wherever I wanted to be, right? Wherever I could face a window for natural light. And so I'm a firm believer in helping people just get started, because usually the tech and the way they look, those are really all just excuses. Like, they really are. Those are outlying excuses, and they may not even realize that those are excuses, but really it's more of a deep-rooted fear, typically, of being judged, or making a mistake, or what will people think, or I feel like I have to show up a certain way on video and I just don't know if I can do that. And so I think that it's easy to hide behind some of those excuses. And so I'm very passionate about empowering people and getting them beyond that. And so I do think that we have to embrace who we are, and we have to be able to understand that there is no formula. There is no like, here's the checklist of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to look and how you're supposed to sound and how you're supposed to act. Yeah, there are some techniques, right? Some best practices with some things. But, as far as like how you're supposed to show up and how you're supposed to basically present yourself to your audience, that's 100% up to you. Like, it's your personal brand. You do not make your personal brand. You do not design your personal brand. You do not create your personal brand. Your personal brand is already inside of you because it is the core of who you are. You just have to decide how you want to show, how you want to let it out, meaning what filters do you want to apply? What boundaries do you want to apply? Because you don't have to share everything or showcase everything. If you feel like you do your best work in your pajamas, but you want to present yourself a particular way to the camera, don't go buy a new wardrobe. Like, show up in how you want to show up, but you can create these filters is what I'm saying. And so, but that's all up to you. You decide. And if somebody in your audience decides they don't want to watch your videos, or because the way you act, or you're too high energy or whatever, that now you're not a good fit for them, that's fine. Let them step aside, and that makes room for somebody else that is going to like your energy and is going to be attracted to you for who you are. And so I'm really, really passionate about getting people to really embrace that aspect of themselves, because then when it comes to showing up on video, it's just more authentic and you feel better and more confident. And honestly, your audience is going to see that come through, and they're going to feel like they can trust you because you are being authentic and you are being raw and real, and you flub your words and you make a mistake or something goes wrong or whatever, you become human to them, and people want you to be a human no matter what role you play for them.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so good. And I know that you have, mic drops like all over the place. Like, and I know that you have like a little mini training where we're going to talk about brands and everything. But I want to ask you, because this is the question that I have heard other people ask, just other people in our industry. And I'm like, I don't know that I've ever asked Melanie this question. And for anybody that's like,
I'm nervous now.
Scared to go live. I know. Like, no. It's nothing too crazy, but I want to really tap into the emotion of the very first time you went live. And I'm going to share mine first, because I think it's really important that we talk about this. So the very first time I ever went live on any platform was Periscope.
Okay.
And this was like 2015. And I was new to Periscope. I didn't know what was going on. I was following somebody else that was on there and already had hundreds of followers. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to do my very first Periscope, and we're going to see what happens. And I was nervous because I don't know, this was totally my ego at play. Because I was like, what if I go live? I'm internet famous. And then all of a sudden it's like, everything just changed. My whole world changes. I had all of these ridiculous thoughts and notions and just crazy things happening in my brain. My heart was pounding. We weren't in this house. This was in 2015. But I remember being in my office chair, holding my phone. My hand was shaking. I didn't have a tripod. I didn't have anything. And my heart was just pounding out of my chest. And I was like, just hit go live. Just hit go live. I hit live. And then I was like, what do I say? I was just like serial killer smiling at it. So I guess we're live now. So this is, and then I looked at the camera, and then I just looked down, and I looked here. I didn't want to look at the camera because I was like, something's going to happen if I look directly at this thing. So I just want to share that story.
You might die.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to have a heart attack. They're going to find me. Why did Crystal die? She went live and it killed her. Guess what?
I can see the headline now.
That did not happen. So what was your first experience of going live?
Yeah, so mine was nothing like that. Shout out to Christy Schroeder, by the way. She's here, fellow B-schooler. So for me, it was 2016, right when Facebook started giving people access to live video. And I had seen a couple people do it, but I had not done it myself. Now, I owned an agency at the time, a social media agency. I still own this agency, but I don't really do this kind of work anymore. So I was like a quote unquote social media expert, right? And so I'm like, I have to try this thing out because I mean, people are relying on me. Like, what is this live thing? So one day I showed up to the office and I had 2 interns at the time, and I walked in. They walked in and we were talking, and I was like, by the way, we're going to do a live video today. And they were like, huh? And I was like, yep, we're going to give it a try. In fact, we're just going to do it right now. And they're like, okay. So it was the funniest and cutest thing. They were literally just like these, young college girls, and they were just like, what? And so I put my phone, and at the time it was when you had to have your phone vertical, and it was only a little square video. And I mean, it was like so basic. And I went live, and I went live on my personal page because that was the only place you could go live at the time. And I basically was like, hey, we're just trying this thing out. I got my interns back here. Look at them. And I was laughing. I was like, they look like deer in headlights. It's okay. They don't know what's going on right now. And they were just like, hi, and so I kind of had the buffer of not doing it totally by myself. Right. Yeah. But for me, I felt a little bit of pressure to do it because, I had to figure this out. I'd figure out what this was. But so the first one wasn't so bad. It was a few of them later where I started getting that nervousness, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember this is when I kind of knew live video was going to be like a game changer when it came to content marketing, because I had just finished a workshop that I conducted. And I decided, I was like, man, I want to do something for this. So I put in the title, why am I celebrating? That was what the title of the live video was. And I went live, and I had a beer in my hand. Like I poured a beer, and my little office at the time had a little fridge in it. It was a little kitchenette. It was cute. And I poured a beer, and I was drinking my beer. I had so many freaking people join that live. And I think it was because that was when I also learned the power of what I call the element of mystery. If you can create an element of mystery in any of your videos, or like a reveal, people are like on the edge of their seats. They love it. People eat that stuff up, and they just love it. And that was when I really discovered that. And I remember for like 2 years, that was still like one of my like best videos, or most engaging, highest, organic reach videos I did. But, for me, it wasn't really like I was thinking about anything other than just trying it out, exploring it on behalf of my audience at the time. And I really liked it. I loved it a lot. But I did kind of come in and out of live video. I would do it when I needed to. And then I started doing it more inside of my Facebook group when I first launched my Facebook group, which was, I think, 4 years ago. And I used it as a way to nurture and take care of them and make them have this exclusivity to me. So I was doing these little live Q&As inside of my Facebook group, but I wasn't necessarily doing as many publicly. And it really wasn't until about a year ago actually it was a little more than a year ago, and I kind of just decided, what, I want to bring this back, but I want to do it, more. Well, let me back up one more. A couple years ago, 3 years ago, when I decided, hey, I want to launch myself as a personal brand. This is when I was trying to transition from agency work to more of, hey, hire me as the coach, marketing coach, trainer, online course creator, podcaster, or whatever the heck I was trying to figure out at the time. So I decided to launch, my personal brand of Melanie Dyann, right? So instead of Addison Avenue Marketing, which was my agency, I wanted to launch this Melanie Dyann brand. And so I knew I wanted to kind of come out of it like with a bang. And so I actually, in March of 2019, I think that's when it was. Yeah, 2019. I decided that was 2 years ago, I guess. I decided to go live. I was like, I'm going live every single day in the month of March.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
You muted me.
Something back here. I know. That was my bad.
So I went live every single day in March, and I did it to get myself back into the rhythm of going live again, because I hadn't been going live for a really long time. I had kind of ebbed and flowed, like I said. And so I went live every day in March, except for the day where it shut down. That was the year where Facebook literally broke for a day. That was also our good friend Heather Sager's birthday. But I literally went live every day. And what happened is by doing it every day, I got like all this confidence back. And I just got back into by like day 7, it was like no big deal to hit go live again. And it was just, I got this rhythm again. You know what I mean? And also it was a really great way to boost this new brand and to drive traffic over there, because everybody knew I can tune in every day about noon. Melanie's going to go live again. And I layered in like different things. I cooked with Addie and like talked about marketing. And then I did it again a few months later and had a lot of fun with it again. But it was in the summer, which was actually a little more challenging for me just because I tend to try to chill a little bit in the summer. And so there were days where we were out on the boat and I was like, I can't go live right now because I don't have a good connection. But I made it happen. But that was when I caught the fish live on video too. And again, that element of mystery, people are like, is she going to be able to catch a fish, while she's live? And heck yes, I did. And so, it was a ton of fun. So that's kind of my journey with live. And then last year I decided I'm all in. And when I became all in and started doing it consistently, same day of the week, same day, same time, all of a sudden everything just started blowing up. I was using StreamYard, which is the application you're using right now, to multi-stream, which allowed me to basically spread my wings without extra time and effort. So I was able to go live in my Facebook group like I was, but also on my page and on my YouTube channel, which at the time, I really wasn't a YouTuber.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I got to tell you, now here we are, and I have quadrupled my YouTube audience. My Facebook group has grown immensely and quickly. My podcast episodes, and here's the thing that's crazy is I'm not very good at podcasting right now, right? I don't release enough episodes often enough, but guess what? Because I'm doing all this live video, people are going over there and they're still listening. So it really does help you spread your wings. And so now I'm all in and I'm passionate about it. And I'm just I see the results, and I know I've seen enough transformations in my own students when they literally have never hit go live to where they now are like, I can go live and it's no big deal. Right. And so I know how to get people in through that journey. But the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I know what's on the other side. Right. And Laura said here earlier, she said, I feel like I know both of you. Right. And she watches our live videos. She tunes in. She's one of those people that tunes into all of our shows. And that's why I love it. You can build relationships with people. So
yes.
That was a long-winded journey answer to your really simple question.
But again, this goes back to all of us, really sharing pieces of our story to better connect with. I'm sure there is someone out in the audience that is like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what Crystal's talking about. It was almost a panic attack the first time I went live, or they haven't gone live and they're like, that's exactly what I feel like every single time. Mm-hmm. Or there's someone who's related to so many pieces of your story. And this goes back to personal branding and branding ourselves in general. So I want you to get into our little mini training that you have for us today. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to let you share your things. Do I need to do anything to let you share this? Do I need to add it to
You just have to add it. Yep. You just add it. There it is.
Okay. See, I'm learning.
Cool.
I'm learning new things.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
I'm trying to do the production in the background, and I'm like, I've learned everything from Melanie. Let's just go ahead and throw that out there.
So now what you should do is you can switch us. Do you know how to switch us?
No.
Click on me and drag me up. Oh, see, now I'm in host position number 1. So now you're all getting a quick StreamYard tutorial. So Crystal, click the layout where it makes the screen smaller and me bigger. Yep. See, if you were still in position 1, you would be on here, right? So this is what you do when you have a guest and you want to kind of create a different view and look. If you ever want to toggle, then you just switch the person in host position number 1, and then there you go. So yeah, but
I need the GIF of you going and your mind's exploding. I really need that.
Okay, I actually can make that happen.
No, you can't.
I totally can. I will in a moment. How about that? I can totally make that happen. Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. Brands. Now, I'm going to kind of pop through this fairly quickly, but here's what we're going to do. I'm going to point out a few things. So we're going to talk about branding. People know when they think of branding, they think of companies and logos, and they think of businesses, right? But when we think about personal branding, a lot of times people don't understand that every human born to this earth has a personal brand, whether you are a thought leader, a podcaster, or even if you are literally working for another company and you are not the owner of the company, you're not the face of the company, you still have a personal brand too inside of that business, inside that company. So everybody has a personal brand, whether or not you're putting yourself out there or not is up to you. So when we think of Nike, a lot of times people will think of Just Do It, right? Or shoes, or Michael Jordan. Some people think about conspiracy or controversy, with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, right? So a lot of people have different thoughts when they think of Nike. Same thing with Apple. Every time I do this, the varying responses are expensive, overpriced. Some people say high quality, obsessed, super fan, technology. People, think of all kinds of things. iPhones. Chick-fil-A, people think delicious chicken sandwich. The other day, someone said, Jesus is chicken. Some people say closed on Sundays, super strong Christian values, not very friendly with, LGBTQMN, all the letters, right? Not very friendly with that kind of stuff. There's Starbucks. Some people say delicious coffee. Some people say overrated, right? Some people say Seattle. Say they think of that. So everybody has different perceptions with different logos. But the thing is that everybody has the same thing with people too. So, Billie Eilish, some people think great musician, other people think dark, weird, other people say super creative, very courageous, she owns who she is. Some people say she has a brother, like she doesn't go anywhere without her brother. So then there's, of course, Martha Stewart. Some people say, Cupcake Prison. Some people say, innovative, CEO. People think of all kinds of things with Martha Stewart. The list goes on, right? Caitlyn Jenner, people say super courageous, whatever. But what's really interesting is that most people will say things, but then there's a lot of people that will not say everything that they feel because they don't feel safe or they don't feel like it's okay to say their real opinion. And so what they do is they just decide, I'm not going to share that opinion. I'm going to filter that. And that's okay. Okay. So you can, just because you're not outspoken, that does not mean that you're being inauthentic. It just means that you have applied a filter, a boundary for yourself when it comes to what you want to say on social, right? Or in a room of people or whatever. Now, the reason why people have these differing opinions is because our brand perceptions are based on our own personal brand dimensions. So we're going to go through what these 4 dimensions are, but what I want you to be thinking about is people have brands too, and the connections we make with people is very similar to the connections we make with businesses. So we talked about Apple. I was an Apple user, then I tried an Android phone once, and probably a third of the way into my contract, I was like, forget this. I want the iPhone back. And I basically never again, right? I'm a loyal iPhone user. I like it. I'm a loyal StreamYard user for many reasons. I'm building connections to these brands because of my user experience and because of what they're about, right? So it's very similar to people. I'm very, very connected to Crystal because we are similar people. We have similar, viewpoints. We have a yin and a yang when it comes to how we approach business and even how we approach other things. The other day, we were kind of all, the 3 of us, me, her, and Heather, were on this Voxer chat about, a very sensitive situation, a very sensitive topic. And it was like, my immediate perception was one way, but then hearing Crystal's perception was I was like, okay, I didn't really think about it that way. So, and then Heather chimes in and it was we were all like, man, I'm so thankful that we have this, right? So you don't have to be you're not going to necessarily be connected to somebody that's identical to you, but there's going to be reasons why your brand dimensions align to each other. So we're going to go through that right now. So let's talk about the 4 dimensions. The first dimension are your values. So we talked about Chick-fil-A, right? They have strong Christian values. That makes some people not attracted to Chick-fil-A. That makes some people extra attracted to Chick-fil-A, right? Because probably if your values align, this is one where your values typically do need to align. So if something happens and that what they do or the actions they take or the opinion they share doesn't align with your values, it's going to rub you in a negative way. Now, we can respect each other's varying opinions, but when it comes to values, a lot of times we tend to kind of put ourselves in the room with people that have values that align with ours. So it's important for us to understand what those are. And sometimes you don't know what they are, but I can tell you how you can figure it out. What bothers you? That's one of the easiest ways to figure out what are your values. What do you value? What really bothers you, right? And so that's really important. So style, this is the one that everybody thinks about when I say, hey, when you think about your personal brand, what comes to mind? And they say, the way I look, the way I dress, the way I act, right? And that's your style. So your style is how you display yourselves to others. And here's the thing, it can be whatever you want it to be. But this is where people tend to kind of really overthink things. And so they think I need to show up a certain way. I was actually teaching a class yesterday to some women that are ambassadors for a brand, and they are very out there on video, but they do home improvement stuff, painting and stuff. And we were talking about, when they're doing these videos, and it's one woman was saying, I paint in my pajamas, I paint in scrappy clothes, and I feel this pressure sometimes that I'm on video, I need to look a certain way. And I'm like, well, I paint in my crappy clothes. So when I watch you painting in your crappy clothes, I'm like, I'm immediately connected and related to. But then another woman in the room was like, she's like, well, I wear heels and I wear nice clothes when I do these videos. And that's just what my audience is used to. Well, somebody who's really into fashion or whatever might be drawn to that, right? And so your style should be whatever is natural to you, right? I used to really overthink my style. And then I just started not worrying about it and just sort of like doing what I wanted to do, right? So our roles are our relationships with others. Now, people tend to have a hard time figuring this one out as well. Now, a role would be, are you a leader? Are you the energetic person? Are you the planner, right? Are you the one who is like always like for me and our little relationship with Heather and Crystal, one of my roles is the techie person. I'm like, figure out the techie stuff, right? I help with the video stuff, the live video technology. Crystal's our podcast expert, right? Heather's our story expert, our messaging expert, our content expert. And we all have different roles that we play in our relationships with people. And so you have a role with your audience too. So your role with your audience, you need to understand what that is. And so sometimes you can figure this out by listening to what your audience tells you, right? But it's important for us to know what our role is so that we can embrace it and show up with that role in mind. Now, keep in mind that your role at home might be different than your role at the office, so to say, right? And so you may have a different role in different environments that you're in too. Now, our standards is how we do things. This is how we show up, the way we do it. So one example is you can climb the corporate ladder. Well, you can climb the corporate ladder because of hard work and results and this and that, or you can climb the corporate ladder because you make other people look bad to make yourself look better. That's a standard, right? So standards can be our behaviors, but it can also be just simply the way we do stuff. So a standard is how you do it. I mean, how you actually do it. So you want to show up for your audience. You want to teach your audience. Are you doing it on video? Are you doing it in a podcast? Are you doing it in text? That's kind of in an element of the standards when we talk about these things. So these dimensions are really important. They all go together, and it's really good for you to understand what these are because your audience is going to align with you based on these things. And these things are you don't have to overthink it, but this is the stuff that people care about. So when you think about video and putting yourself out there on video, whether it be live video or whatnot, for example, your standards. Okay. So my audience counts on me to always be trying new things because I'm going to figure it out and then I'm going to teach you what I just figured out. And so I'm always trying new stuff, but at the same time, that comes with maybe I make mistakes or something goes wrong or whatever. Some people would say, oh, I don't ever want to, my quality is super, super important. So it's really important that nothing goes wrong. Well, that's an example of a standard, right? My standards when it comes to that stuff is fairly here because I'm always experimenting and trying new things. So the standards also come back to the reason why I like live video is it kind of levels the playing field for just about everybody because the expectations of our audience, the standards have actually been more level set, more so today than they ever have been. So it used to be if you wanted to create a marketing video, you had to be polished and it had to be really good and edited and people expected high quality videos. That's what they wanted to watch. Now people are like, oh, Crystal's in her pajamas today. Sweet. What's going on, Crystal? We are used to this. Our standards have the playing field has level set. We watch the news. Some of these people are literally using their iPhones to talk on national television because that's how they are connecting to the news station via Skype or Zoom. They are literally using a phone to go on national television. So again, the playing field is totally level set right now. So there's never been a better time to jump in and embrace live video. Now, the last thing I'll say is why is this all important? Is because we've talked about the customer journey and people are going to discover you. They're going to do some research. They're going to decide if they want to invest in you or connect with you or join your group or subscribe to your podcast. And then they're going to become a customer or a subscriber or a follower, right? And some people are going to become an advocate. So some of you are big advocates for Crystal. You're like, oh my God, such a great podcast episode. Or, oh my gosh, Crystal reviewed my podcast and now I know what I need to do next and yada, yada, yada. And they become an advocate and you share Crystal with your audience. You say, you got to go subscribe to this podcast. Well, now you just put new people into the discovery phase for Crystal. But the whole reason why this is important is because when it comes to the business customer journey, the relationship customer journey is the same. And so our personal brands matter in business, but they also matter in our personal lives. And so you have to really get comfortable being, you have to learn to be comfortable with who you are, even the parts that maybe you're a little bit fearful about putting out there because you're being afraid of being judged. Because the bottom line is you're being judged no matter what. You're being judged whether you're online or offline. It's a true story. So even when you don't post, people are thinking about you, or they come across you, or they're reminded of you somehow, and they may be like, wonder what they're up to, or, ooh, they've been quiet for a while, something must be wrong. Or, I mean, people are thinking about us all the time. It's a silly thing, but it's true. So you have to take control of who you are, or somebody else just might, you're leaving it up to others. You're leaving that perception up to others, and you don't want people making assumptions about what's important to you, how you're going to show up, if they can connect to you or not. Because the last thing I want is somebody to make a bunch of assumptions about what you're all about, and then they maybe do invest with you, and all of a sudden, you're not who they thought you were, because you weren't really helping us make that decision. And so don't fall into the trap of letting somebody else take control of your brand. I always like to tell this story, but back in the day, Microsoft did not do any marketing. They really did not market their products. They did like really no marketing, because they had dominated the market of PCs and computers and laptops, especially because corporate America was pretty much buying PCs. Macintosh came in and basically said, we're going to start doing marketing. And if you're not going to market yourself, we're going to create a persona for you. And so Macintosh started creating these ads where they were basically they had a lot of sarcasm and some satire and some parodies and some analogies. And they totally made PC look like this nerdy, unreliable, full of viruses, lots of issues. They pointed out issues that PC users were just used to dealing with because they didn't know any better. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to be this weird, nerdy person using this nerdy brand of business product. I'm going to check out a MacBook. And so what happened is all of a sudden PC had to respond, or Microsoft had to respond, and it took them a long time, and they're still working at it to shift that viewpoint of the audience, of the consumer. And so they didn't take control of their brand, so they left it up to Macintosh, and that's exactly what happened. Is Macintosh basically was like, well, if you're not going to, we will. So that can happen to you as well, as an entrepreneur, as a thought leader, as anybody. That can happen to you as well. If you aren't putting yourself out there, then how can somebody learn to like, know, and trust you? And then also, how do they know what you're all about, right? And so whether it be a podcast, whether it be video, just you have to be able to be comfortable putting yourself out there. And I personally believe in elements of video and audio. And so I always say, get into the DMs with the audio, right? Audio message people, send people a video message, use applications, send videos as for support videos. Like if you're answering a question, send them a video to answer their question. Go live on video so that people can see you, hear you, get that relationship. All of this is going to speed up that like, know, and trust factor. So I'm all about that. So let's talk. Do you want to talk about podcasts and videos and Hoot Nanny?
Yeah, well, I just want to go and just reiterate exactly what you've said and how it relates to everyone here in this community, right? I think that if I were only doing podcasts and I was not showing my face on Instagram or on Facebook or YouTube, nowhere else. If I think back to the early days of podcasting, how hard it must have been for those podcasters to get their message out, because they are just relying on uploading an audio file every week and hoping that someone listens to it, hoping that someone hears it. And me with my marketing background and how much I just love to really experiment and try new things, video has 100% fast forwarded that whole process. I remember I went to a conference in 2018, and it was Jennifer Allwood. I don't know if anybody's familiar with who she is, but for a while she was concentrating on live video, and she put out a challenge and said, go live every day for a month. Exactly what you said, right? When did you do that challenge? When did you do that for yourself?
It was March 2019.
Okay. So this was, I think, January 2019, which is funny because it was around the same time I think that we first connected anyway.
Yeah,
it was
I think so.
Around that time. But so we've kind of been on this same, let's try this video thing out and see what happens. And I can tell you, I've had more people come to me already warmed up. We weren't total strangers because they're like, oh, I know your dog Wally, and he interrupts your video. Especially whenever I didn't have him on, like I didn't shut the door. Like I'd do it on my phone, and he'd come and jump in the picture. Or most people are like, oh, I know you have kids because you talk about, they come in. Or I know that you have dirty laundry. This is what people love to really hint at. They're like, but let's go back. It's clean laundry, guys. It's clean laundry in my closet, okay? I just don't put it away. I don't fold it and put it away. It's not dirty. But, I mean, just to go back and say everything you're talking about, I mean, we see that Melanie has personality. Look at all the stuff that she has on the screen. Like,
I was wondering if you noticed.
I'm looking at the camera. I'm being a good videographer.
I turned it on. I was like, waiting for you.
And I'm like, no, I don't see it. You can see Melanie's personality. You can see the lava lamp. Like, I feel like we need a dancing lava lamp.
Hey,
like,
I'm going to get a lava lamp cam so that I can just be like, lava lamp move.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Just look at the lava lamp. But this is what I'm talking about. You wouldn't be able to see this if we were only audio. And I think for me, what I love about it is it lets me... I'm a creative person. I'd like to try things out creatively. Obviously, Mel is too. I'm cracking up. Like, this is the one that I need. This is the one that
I know. Hold on. Let me.
Oh, no.
Here you go. Full screen mode right there for you.
The eyes is everything.
Full screen mode. GIF 2. Where is that thing?
Oh my gosh. But y'all see all these things that she's doing? Like, I'm not even kidding. I was like I'm like, oh, I'm going to impress Melanie. I'm going to figure out something super fancy. But it doesn't have to be fancy. And that's what I love about StreamYard. Like, first and foremost, like, let's just talk about StreamYard for a second, because I was doing a lot of more complicated things behind the scenes before I found StreamYard. And it's given me the confidence where I don't have to think about how everything's going to work technically. I know I can just show up as myself. I can show up with my notes or whatever I'm going to talk about that day. If sometimes I don't even have notes, I'm just like, hey, what's going on? I know you've done this too. We're in your Facebook group, which it's DIY Marketing with Melanie. I put it up here earlier. If y'all have not joined, come hang out in her Facebook group, because she does a lot of Q&As. And I think these are fire. Oh my gosh, they're so good. So good, because it just helps, like, again, people get to know you, but to also see, like, how you're going to respond. Like, are we going to jive? Like, am I on the same playing field as Melanie, or is she in a $10,000 studio somewhere and she's telling you to do all these impossible things, and you're like, I can't really relate to that. No. Which, by the way,
no, and it's funny because, like, I do think that letting your personality out and being confident, like, again, I think that so often people are terrified of video. They're terrified to just put themselves out there because of that judging factor. But here's the thing. You want people to judge. You want them to make a decision. You want them to, because what you don't want to do is sit back and be all neutral and vanilla. And then all of a sudden these people invest in you, and maybe they join your membership, they join your program, they enroll in a coaching program with you, or whatever it might be. And then all of a sudden you're having to do work for them. You're having to show up and, like, do your thing. Are you really going to want to filter it like that? Or are you going to want to be able to feel relaxed and like yourself and let it out? So for me, sometimes I give tough love, like, and I do it. Like, people will ask questions and I will give my honest opinion, or I'll say, like I said earlier, like, hey, you're waiting on the right camera. You're waiting on this. Those are all excuses. Like, my tough love is get off your butt, grab your phone, and start going live. Because I'm going to tell you, no matter what camera you have, no matter what microphone you have, you are still going to feel the fear of click and go live, no matter what. And your phone is a $900 camera. I mean, let's be honest. It's one of the best cameras you can get. So use it, right? So I always just say, like, that's just an excuse. You're creating these facades of over the fear, and you need to embrace why you're afraid. Embrace it. Be real with yourself, and then work towards getting over that fear. If you're, like, always putting these little things above your fear, you're never gonna hit the goals you want to hit. And that applies to all kinds of things. And I speak that from experience and continued experience. I have my own fears. I have my own limitations. I have things that I don't do that I should be doing, and all that same stuff. So 100%, I can relate and I can understand, but I am going to push you. So if people don't want to be pushed or coached, then they should not join my programs or be in my audience, because while I'm fun and I'm caring and I'm nurturing and I am very loving, it's just I want you to get over some things. So I'm going to help you. But then if you just keep throwing those excuses at me, there's going to be a point where I'm going to be like, hey, this is fear talking. This isn't real, So, but that's not for everybody. And listen, there are a million people that teach live video. Like, there are so many people that teach and coach live video. There are mentors of mine, Luria Petrucci, she's live streaming pros. Tiffany Lee Bymaster, she's actually right now launching her program. These women are amazing and I learn from them. But not everybody, maybe not everybody relates to them, and maybe not everybody relates to me. And that's what's kind of beautiful, is that we all have choices. But no one can make a good informed decision about you unless you put yourself out there. So it's really important.
Well, I had asked everybody before we went live, and anybody's here, if you're live, post a question in the comments. But we had a few come in that I want to address real fast. And then I do want to talk about something really fun, something that's really exciting, and we're going to share with you here in a second. But so Miranda had posted yesterday, she said, I want to know more about streaming platforms. I see a lot of people using StreamYard, but I don't know much about the other options. Mm-hmm. So can you speak on that a little bit?
Totally. Yeah. So basically the main players are StreamYard, Restream.io, BeLive TV. There's one kind of coming, it's up and coming. I've not played with it myself. It's called Melon.
Okay.
It's an interesting, it's Melon is what it's called. And then another one is Lightstream. I actually did try that one, and I did not find it to be very user-friendly. These are all browser-based applications. So these are all what we call level 2 applications. Level 1 is basically grab your phone and go live, or your iPad and go live, right? Level 2 is using a browser-based software. And what that means is it's a website. Just like Canva is a browser-based design application. So you go to the site and you can literally go live browser-based. Level 3 would be software installed on your computer. So vMix, Ecamm, these are really popular ones. Minicam is one actually as well. So these are ones that you actually pay for the software and you install it on your system. Now, another one is OBS, which is a free one. So that's a free application. I'm actually using OBS to control what you see on camera, but that's like duct taping two applications together. We weren't going to talk about that today, but that's the fun stuff you can learn to do you can learn how to do that stuff. So, Restream.io and StreamYard are dang near identical. I mean, they are the features as far as what's different about them is that the free plan for Restream has some limitations, to be honest with you. The free plan for StreamYard is extremely generous. I mean, extremely generous. You can go live in a Facebook group, on your personal profile, on a business page, on YouTube, on LinkedIn if you're approved, soon to be Twitter. Periscope is gone, but Twitter Live is coming. So you can go live any of those places. With Restream, their API is connected to like 30 some platforms. However, the free plan only lets you go live on, I think, your personal profile and maybe your business page. You cannot go live in a group. So there's some limitations to the free plan for sure. But both of them have, overlays that you can put up. The banners and the tickers, they just look different. So the banners and the tickers in Restream just look different than the ones. There's some aesthetic differences, but honestly, the features are just about the exact same as far as capabilities. So I always tell people, if you're already using one of them, just stick with that because they're all competing with each other. They're all kind of doing the thing. If you have not picked one yet, I say try them out. Try the free versions out. BeLive TV is one out there as well. Now, I'll be real honest. I am a StreamYard partner. I'm allowed to talk about these platforms. You can tell me what you want and I can tell you what you need to know about all of them. And I'm not saying this because I'm a partner. I've said this before I became a partner. In my opinion, StreamYard is very stable, meaning like the code is extremely stable. There are not bugs. That I rarely have any issues. I had tons of issues with the other platforms when I experimented with them. I also find that the StreamYard interface is very user intuitive. So literally within minutes, you can figure out how to use it. I find Restream to be a little bit clunkier from that aspect. And then BeLive is also very user intuitive. The interface is pretty user intuitive as well. But one thing that I think that StreamYard has that's different than any of those other platforms is they have a very strong Facebook community. And they're now starting to host these virtual events. They truly do want people to get good utilization out of their application, and they want to support people, and they want to support people in their live streaming journey. And so I find that that's also another added benefit for sure. But if you're using StreamYard, I say stick with it. But there are definitely other platforms you can explore, but you're going to find that they're very similar. There's not really a lot of differences.
Yeah. Well, I started using StreamYard, I guess, in February or March of last year. I couldn't remember. So it's been a full year since I started using them, and I don't even mess with anything else.
Yeah.
I don't. It's totally.
But that's your
to
style.
me, it's worth it. Yeah. It's like.
I'm good.
Yeah,
I don't need to try anything else. I'm good.
Very brand loyal. Like once I try something, I'm just like, nope. Speaking of brands, like nope. For anybody that's in Texas, or like if you're in a place where you can have access to a Buc-ee's, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's like basically the gas station that's the size of a Walmart. They have the cleanest bathrooms ever. And I'm like, that's my thing. If I'm on the road with the kids, like, and I am brand loyal to Buc-ee's. They've also, we're not talking about Buc-ee's here though. But okay, next question. I'd like to know how to include YouTube in everything. If you're using something like StreamYard, does it also go to YouTube and autosave or something like that?
Yeah, so as long as you're on the basic plan, so they have the free plan, which is very robust. You can do so many great things with it. If you use the basic plan, then you can what's called multi-stream to, I think, 3 destinations. I'd have to pull the pricing. I think that's correct, isn't it? 3 destinations.
Yeah, I
so
think it's any more than 3, you have to go to the next.
Yeah, go to the next one.
Tier.
So what that means is, and this is exactly what I do. So I go live in my Facebook group, on my Facebook page, and over on YouTube. And so it's actually going to allow you to stream everywhere. You will see all the comments from all of those destinations right inside of the StreamYard Studio, which is very helpful. So you don't have to have like all these browser windows open to try to monitor comments. And so you can see all those comments right there. You can display them like Crystal does on screen. And then when that video is done, it is going to auto publish to your YouTube channel as a replay live stream. And so you can then go to that live video, you can add it to a playlist, you can add it to your showcase, you can trim that video, so you can actually do some post editing in YouTube as well. And so yeah, it's actually a very effective strategy. I think that it's really great to add live video to your YouTube strategy, but still continue to upload shorter pre-recorded videos. I do think that people are tending to get they're getting impatient when it comes to YouTube videos, meaning when they are going to learn something and they want to watch it to learn, depending on what you're doing, if it's tutorial based or anything like that, the best is to just keep it really short and sweet. Now, you might incorporate some tutorials in your live show, but really the live videos are more about nurturing and talking to your audience and having back and forth conversation with them. So giving them this variety is really helpful. The other thing that's really cool is live videos tend to be longer, and that gives you more minutes that have been watched. And so if someone tunes into your live show and it's 60 minutes, that's 60 minutes counting towards, your metrics. And many people they care about those numbers because they're trying to monetize their YouTube channel or unlock features to get to those certain levels of minutes watched and subscribers.
Yeah. Oh, this is so good. Well, we have another question that's semi-related to YouTube, and it says, I'd like to better understand using StreamYard and YouTube. Specifically, how many people, and this is from Stephanie, specifically, how many people can view the program live on YouTube? I'm planning to have 4 guests on the screen. I figured out how to get them connected, but now need to know if that is really going to work for what I'm trying to accomplish. Thank you so much.
Read the first part of her question again for me.
Yeah, so it sounds like it says, I'd like to better understand using StreamYard and YouTube, specifically how many people can view the program live on YouTube.
Unlimited.
So she's going to have 4 guests.
Yeah,
okay.
Unlimited. So, I mean, there's no limit to your viewers.
Right.
So it's not like a webinar platform where, let's say, for example, investing in Zoom webinars and you can have up to a certain number of registrants, and then you have to pay more money to allow more registrants. Live video is open, so it's accessible by anyone as long as it's a public video. So if you can also do a live video streamed to YouTube, and you can select, when you create this in StreamYard, you can select unlisted so that it will be live, but no one can actually see that video unless they have the link to it. So some people use this as a workaround to investing in webinar software. They will literally just live stream to YouTube, and then they will email the link to their email list or whoever, and then that way they get this kind of exclusive view of it, right? Now, the other thing you can do, because YouTube has that embed code. You can embed a YouTube video on a web page, okay? You can actually do this. A live video there will be an embed code for that live video. So you schedule it, you make it unlisted, and then you take that embed code, you can add it to a web page that maybe is locked to, certain people that opt into a certain form on your site. That's a workaround to, paying for webinar software. So you can use StreamYard and YouTube and do things like that. So I think that this person is wondering about that but there's no limitation on viewers. Now, what's really cool about StreamYard is you can have up to 6 guests in your stream with the free plan, if I'm not mistaken, which is very generous, right? And so you can have these guests on. So right now this is what we're doing, right? She has 4 guests. She can have all those guests be what we call backstage in the green room. She can bring them up one at a time. She can bring them all on. She can toggle the views like Crystal was doing earlier so that when one person's talking, then they're on. So StreamYard makes that really easy because there's just these little buttons you click that changes the view. And it's really, really cool because it's fun when people figure it out just like you're like, oh my God, I didn't know that. Like people they feel like they're like, oh my God, I feel so professional. And that's what I love about StreamYard is it actually makes this really fun. And it actually, when people start using StreamYard, I find that they actually look forward to creating more videos because they feel like it's fun. Like they're like, look at this, look what I can do. Yes.
Yeah. Like it's just like, man, like it's really not that complicated, but you think it is because you see someone else doing it. Like maybe someone's watching right now and they're just like, she's got a ticker on the bottom and like she can just switch them back and forth and she can just put her up. It's really not that complicated if you have the right person teaching you. And that is like, Melanie is my go-to whenever I look at anything. She has so many incredible YouTube videos and she just has so much content that I know she's like constantly thinking like, oh my gosh, I see this question over and over and over again. I can't wait to teach this. And I just want to compliment you for a second because it's my show and I can do what I want. And I just want to say, I think that you are so generous with how you teach other people. I mean, when you came into my world, your nickname was Mentor Mel. And that is literally what I called you forever. It was like, oh, Mentor Mel. Like, she's there. Like someone I always have leaned on. I can ask her, even if I feel like it's kind of a stupid question. I'm like, I really don't want to ask anybody. But then I knew I could always come to you and ask a question, even if I was like, oh, I may sound a little dumb, but she won't judge me. Like she won't judge me because she's just like, no, like it's fine. You're not dumb. Like we all have this question. So I just want to compliment you and say, I appreciate so much about this, but I want to get to the piece de resistance. Like one of the reasons why we're here today, because
hold on, I should play music.
Oh yeah.
It won't, I promise it's not going to hurt your thing because it's free streaming music. It's free.
Well, I need you to throw your confetti. Can you do that?
Oh, okay. I can't. I have to add it to OBS real quick. But
see, I gotta step up. I gotta really just maybe one day I can just give you the keys to my StreamYard and be like, can you go upload and do a bunch of really cool things in the background to make it like even more fun than it already is? I'm like, I got the basics down, but I'm like, I need a little bit more.
I think that you should actually do that. I think that you should actually let me just give me the keys.
Yes. No,
you watch out.
That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah,
it's you watch out.
Go detail my car. And okay. So speaking of, I've been using StreamYard for a year, and I'm constantly learning something new. I didn't know. So y'all see this banner at the bottom of the screen. I didn't realize. So there's 2 different options when you have StreamYard open. You can have it just like as a comment or here, like what we had earlier. We have DIY marketing with Melanie. Like that's just a regular banner, or you can have the scroll ticker. But y'all, there's a way you can organize these. You can have little folders. So if
you didn't know that?
No, I didn't know this. Y'all, this is how much of Crystal's digital life is a hot mess. Like I just have them all. There's just like a running list of all these banners that I need to go and organize. That's another story for another day. But Mel, we are here to talk about your boot camp.
Let's do it. So okay, first of all, I just want you to know that I'm going to have to Vox you afterwards, because if you didn't know about that, you probably aren't thinking about something else that I'm going to make sure you know about StreamYard that's super cool. You do know about the space bar, right? Hit the space bar.
Probably not.
Hit the space bar. Oh, it's an undo button. Oh,
no,
yeah. Heather, so I know, right? It's an undo button. I actually just created a piece of content that StreamYard will be putting out soon, and it's 5 StreamYard hacks you may not know about. That's one of them. No. Okay, that's so I can't get the music to work, but it's fine. Okay, so here's the deal, the boot camp. So in my boot camp, I basically have designed an online course to help people learn to develop a live video strategy, which I will say doubles as a podcasting strategy, which is why I do really love talking to your audience, because the exercises we go through, the way we develop this strategy, the content strategy is actually, you can apply it to your podcast, your blog, or your videos. And so we develop a strategy, and then we also, the course teaches you how to actually understand what gear you might need, the options that you have for gear, so that you know to start with what you have, but then also you know what you need to do if you do want to take things to different levels. And so that's actually something else that's covered. Then we talk about techniques. We talk about what to do before you go live, while you're live, after you're live, what not to do during your live. One of my favorite lessons that is really popular in this course is also, there's a whole lesson about interviewing people. So there is a right way to do interviews. There's a wrong way to do interviews. I know Crystal also believes in this as well, because it kind of goes with podcasting as well. There's ways. So I talk about how to prep your guests and how to actually leverage having that guest on so that you can get even more organic reach. And then we talk about advanced strategies, so like repurposing your content. We talk about other things. I have a huge announcement coming up later this afternoon about this program. I'm just going to tell you because we're here, right? But I also have an ads bonus. So there's a bonus that's getting added to this program about converting your live video to an ad, which is huge. I don't even do this. This is why I asked Tracy Morgan, my special guest, to come on, and I said, will you please teach my audience how to do this? And also, I need to know how to do it too. So you're actually going to get an ads mini course on converting your live videos to ads. You're also going to get an amazing bonus by Crystal, who's going to help us repurpose that content and help us really leverage the videos and how we can use podcasts and videos together, whether it be repurposing for social media content, clips, other things. So she's going to help us make sure that we are totally leveraging these two worlds together. Whether you have a podcast already, or maybe you're thinking about a podcast, you can put these things together. So Crystal's going to help us do that too. So, and here's the thing about it. It's an online course, but you know what? The course is one piece, but the part that I'm the most proud of and passionate about is it is also a group coaching program. So you have the course, and you'll have the course for the rest of the year. Oh, it also includes a tech resource library. So there's all kinds of tutorial videos to have all the tech covered, from going live on just your phone, to doing interviews, to using the Facebook app, to using the YouTube app, to using StreamYard. All kinds of tech tutorials in there. There's also a Canva template bonus so that you can have just these templates to design the assets that you need for your live videos, so you don't have to go hire a designer and figure all that crap out. You can just use Canva, and I help create these templates so that you just have a place to get started. So the other thing, this group coaching program is 6 weeks long. So you're going to have the course, but you're also going to have me on Mondays. So for an hour, we do a group coaching Zoom call where we talk about mindset. I find out what your struggles are. We talk about all that stuff. We talk about your strategy specifically for you, and we do it all on Zoom. And then on Thursdays, I go live and I answer any questions that you have, and I do it on live video. Now, here's the thing. I do bonus lives all the time too. I jump in there. I just figured this thing out. I figured this new microphone out, or I just learned how to do this, and I jump in there and I show you. I also answer other questions on the fly. So you have all this support during this group coaching program. So I love the group coaching piece, because what happens is all the boot campers kind of develop this little family. They become this little family as they go through this experience together. And that literally gives me goosebumps when I think about it and when I talk about it, because it's like they become their little business besties as they go through. So you have this practice playground where you're going to be practicing all these live videos, all these things that you're going to be learning. You have a place to practice it that's safe, but you also have your family, your boot camp family, to go through it with you. And you literally, everybody gets to know each other. And I mean, one woman, she was going live and showing us her front porch and her farm, and everyone was like, oh my gosh. And you just develop these relationships with your fellow boot campers, which helps you feel better when you're trying these new things. It's amazing what happens, this experience, this little family thing, the bond that kind of happens. And I also have a VIP option if you also want additional one-on-one support. So I actually added this for the first time to the program this time, and it's actually because I had so many people asking for it. And so this time I decided I'm going to go ahead and offer a one-on-one option to add on to the course and the group coaching component as well. And I'm really excited. I've got a few people that are opting in already for that VIP option. And I can't wait to get to know these people even better on a more intimate level. And so I would love to invite you into this boot camp and join us for it. So the enrollment does close next Tuesday night at midnight. So, and if you want that ads bonus, you're going to need to enroll before Sunday night. So that ads bonus will expire actually on Sunday night. So that is the program. I'm pumped about it. I can't wait to get started. I'm ready. I'm ready to close this cart, like get this enrollment closed, and let's get going. I'm like super excited about it.
Yes. So how long is the program? Like if you were to enroll today, when does it get started, and how long can someone expect? Like, because I know everyone always asks me, like, how much of a commitment is this? Like, how am I going to do this every day? Like, give us a little bit of background on that.
Yeah. So basically, once you enroll, you're going to be invited into our community, our Facebook community right away, and you will be in there. And then the course, you'll start having access to the course actually next Wednesday. And then we kick things off. You'll get the first module on the 18th of April, and our first coaching call is on the 19th. And it basically, that group coaching component where you have me and support will last all the way through the end of May. But then you'll still have your Facebook group in your community, your family, where you can all kind of keep practicing and playing around and talking to each other until the end of June. Now, once the group archives, you'll still be able to see all the old content. There just won't be any new comments or new things. However, you have access to the online course, everything I talked about, all the lessons, all the tutorials, the Canva templates, the bonuses, all the way until the end of the year. Now, I do this because I know that not everybody may be ready for some of the things as they go through the course, or things can happen, but also because people like to revisit these lessons as they are starting to adapt and evolve their live video. And so sometimes people will say, I've had a woman, she's like, I just went through the strategy lesson again, and I sat down and, she was like, I was ready to revamp my strategy again. So she went through the lessons and pulled out the worksheets, and she went through the exercises again. So, that's the reason why I make sure it's available to you through the end of the year, because I know that you may want to revisit some of that stuff, or you may need a refresher, right? So that's just kind of the way it works.
Okay, so this is so I'm excited for y'all to get started, because y'all think Melanie has high energy right now, just you wait, because whenever she gets pumped up, you're a natural problem solver. I don't know if you would identify as that, but you see something and when someone comes to you with an issue, like I said, this is what made you such my go-to mentor, Mel, because I can come to you comfortably with questions. You won't make me feel stupid. You won't make me feel like I should know all of these things. You would just be like, man, all right, this is the direction you want to go. Let me show you how we can get there. Or maybe this strategy may not be the right one for you. Let's look at all of our options instead of just saying, that's not how we do it. No, we're not going to do it that way. You are very open to approaching business, to approaching strategy in a way that can help others. Like we talked about earlier, we don't want to be put inside this little bitty box of you have to do things this way. And that's just another thing I love about how you teach, but also just how you operate in your business and everything that you do. So y'all go to melaniedyann.com/go live to learn about her bootcamp. That's what I have here. You can just scroll through and see all of the amazing things. She's got all the examples. Look, y'all, this is where she caught the fish. Okay. If you don't know this, you have to go and look and read all the things, go learn about, everything with the boot camp. Like she said, the enrollment closes on Tuesday at midnight. What time does it close on Tuesday?
Midnight.
Is that Eastern?
Yes, Eastern time.
Okay. Yeah. Midnight Eastern. Okay. So last thing I want to ask you. Someone is watching. They're like, oh, Melanie, she's exactly who I want to learn from, but I don't know that I'm really ready for this. They're just thinking, I don't like the way that I look on camera. I need to lose 20 pounds and then I'll feel better. I did the COVID-15, I gained the COVID-15, and I just don't feel ready to really put myself out there. What piece of advice would you give to them?
I think it's a common thing. I think it's a very common emotion. And so I would say, one, you're definitely not alone. I mean, for sure. There's so many people that battle this, but I will say that the sooner you get started, even if it's just taking those baby steps, the sooner you're going to start getting closer to that dream and those goals that you have. So if you wait till you're quote unquote ready, right? Let's just define what ready looks like. Let's say it's 6 months before you're ready, right? Quote unquote ready. 6 months from now, think about looking back and thinking, what if I had started 6 months ago? You would be 6 months ahead in your journey. And so I have felt this, and I feel very passionate about this now because I sat back in my journey. I sat back waiting for certain things. I sat back. I had imposter syndrome. I had all the same mindset issues, and we all battle them every day. I am so glad that last year I finally decided just to go. Like, let's just go for it. Because not only have I felt so connected to my community, I'm building relationships with my community. I feel like when I go live, it is like my favorite thing to do because it's like going and hanging out in a room with a bunch of people that are trying to do great things and I get to help them. And if I didn't go for it starting last year, I wouldn't be here today on my third launch of this program and offering a VIP component because I've been able to learn what my audience needs through these programs, but I wouldn't even have been able to launch it if I wasn't putting myself out there. And if I had waited till I was ready, then I would still be waiting. Here's the thing. If you wait till you're ready, the truth is you're never ready. You're never ready because once you get to a certain point, guess what? There will be something else that your mind will create to tell you you're not ready. So I actually will say this, and I say this from experience and also the experience of my students. The best way to get ready is to get into action. So action generates courage. It's not the other way around. Sometimes we think we have to wait until we're ready or we're courageous. We have to drum up the courage to click go live. I will tell you that when you click go live, it creates empowerment. It creates courage that the next time you have a little more readiness when you click go live. And so I say the best way to get started is to get started. I know that I'm not the only person that says that, but it truly is true. And this program is a great place, a safe place for you to put your toes in the water, to slowly walk in. You don't have to go dive into the ocean and start swimming out. You can let the water touch your toes. Get your feet accustomed to the sand. Walk out there slowly. Get used to the temperature. Maybe step back. Think about it again. Like, I think I might go put on some warmer clothes. Go back into the ocean. Step back in. Oh, I think I'll step back. Now I think I want to try bodyboarding. I'm going to go grab the bodyboard. Get back into the ocean. Go a little deeper. Start bodyboarding. You don't have to jump all the way in. Tiptoe in. And that's exactly how I've designed this program, is to allow you to know what to do so that you know what step 1 looks like, but you also know what step 20 looks like down the road, right? And in the environment you're going to find some people are at step 1 and some people might be at step 20. But what's great is that we all help each other. And you have this wonderful community that's safe and protected for you to get some of those fears out of the way in a safe, quiet environment so that when you're ready to go public, you've already worked out some of those weird feelings and whatnot. One of my favorite things is when inside the boot camp, there's always, a number of people that have never gone live. They've never gone live ever. And watching them go live inside this private group, watching them do it for the very first time, it is like, and then the way they feel after, they almost always immediately post and they're just like, oh my gosh, that was so liberating.
Yes.
And then seeing them do it again and the next time and the next time and the next time. There's a woman, Genevieve Journal. I remember the first time she went live, she literally was like, and then she was like, I don't know how to turn it off. How do I stop this live video? And I knew that it's like, it's going to happen. And then she did it. And then she's going live all the time. And then she's giving us a tour of her studio and like trying new things. And she was trying her microphone, like to watch and then another woman, Angie King, to watch her click the button the very first time. And like her and she had all this nervous energy when she was talking to us. And then later on, she's like practicing teaching a lesson, like it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. And the thing is you won't be alone. So I say, don't do it alone. Why not join another group of people that are trying to do what you're doing? And you'll find that community creates empowerment. And that's why I love the group coaching component so much. And that's why I'm so passionate about it. And I'm really proud of this program. I'm proud of all the years of work and all the years of working with people and knowing what people need to take the steps, right? And my goal is to get you into action because that's how you're going to get over those fears and to actually get ready.
I mean, I just feel like it was like mic drop, mic drop, mic drop, mic drop. Like, it looks like I'm throwing microphones.
I need to get like a fake mic. I just need to get one. I need to get a fake microphone.
This is so good. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all about branding, how we can really be ourselves and stand out on a line, but really just to get started with video. And I love the analogy of just tiptoeing. You ain't got to jump off the diving board. And
I literally made that up on the fly. I swear to God. That's my other hidden talent.
Throwing out like the life-saving, like the lifeguard thing.
That is on your little life them. Yeah.
But instead of her like shoving you off the edge of the dock, like she's just gonna be like, no, let's just come in. Like, well, the water's warm.
Hold your hand.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh my gosh, Melanie, thank you so much for being here today and sharing everything. I just wanted to say a quick hi to everybody. Lori, I'm so happy that you're here. She's like, yeah, Crystal wants to know all the things yesterday. So true. I'm like, I'm just going to give you the keys and like, you just go and do everything. Craig says, this has been great. Thanks for putting it on. Thanks for being here, Craig. So happy. And Nathan just says, cool. Like,
I like it.
All about it. But
I like it.
Like what we were saying earlier, this is so awesome. We can see Facebook, we can see YouTube, all in StreamYard. So if you want to know how to do this, go to the URL on the screen, melaniedyann.com/go live. And if you have any other questions about the program, Melanie, where should they reach out to you?
They should totally just send me a DM. DM me on Instagram or Facebook, or just email me at melanie@melaniedyann.com. Send me a message. And if you have any questions about this program, you're going to get a personalized video response from me. So that's the way I do this. I would love to answer any questions that anybody has. I'd love to welcome anyone into this boot camp, of course, because again, anybody interested in podcasting should 100% be embracing live video. I'm very passionate about that because it will help you reach those goals that much faster. So Crystal, thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Y'all have a fantastic weekend and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everybody.